What's going on, everybody? Here I'm going to show you all the top 4 XP farms that I've been stumbling across in terms of normal dungeons. Now, they will be changing Nightmare Dungeons soon, it sounds like, so this will probably be less efficient than whatever they're going to be doing. And who knows, they may do some more nerfs, more buffs. I have no idea, but as far as normal dungeon and XP farming, these are the best methods that I've found so far. The first one's going to be Blind Burrows. Now, quite a few people actually know about this one, but this one's really good just because of how dense the spiders are. And overall, this is where it's going to be, just south of the map and east of Zarbin Zet here, where you're going to find the dungeon. And inside the dungeon, I'm going to be giving you all a range of XP that you can expect to acquire and some strategies associated with this. So first off, with Blind Burrows, it's going to be around 10 to 12 million, potentially solo, and then upwards of 20 million to a little bit higher with a consistent, very strong group. Keep in mind that group farming in this game is always going to be better until they change the dungeon methods where you could just be on opposite side of the dungeons and sharing XP regardless. But what you'll find with this one is you just go through the initial part. You only do the first part of the dungeon. But what's really nice about this one with a group is that there's so many corridors that you can easily split up and actually consistently get through the dungeon quicker with a group. And that's what we're trying to look for with a lot of these dungeons, is that we really want to have high density of monsters. And in this case, it's spiders, which gives you a lot of XP, and also the ability to potentially get additional XP with more people in the dungeons. So this one's going to be a very good one, and oftentimes what you'll find is pretty easy to be able to do, as spiders die very quickly, but there's just a lot of them, so very good XP. And honestly, you could do this pretty early on into your leveling process. Next one's going to be Calibel's Mine, very north side of the map in Skosglen, just east of the Morrowind waypoint. And in the Calibel's Mine, this one's also going to be very good, very short. However, similar to Ruins of Eridu, where you're going to have a very high density of these cannibal, like human monsters type kind of guys. And all you're going to have to do is come in here, kill off the monsters. You could split up nicely where you can have 2 people kind of wrap around. And in fact, if you're running this with 2 people, the XP range could be anywhere from about 10 million solo to about 18 million as a group. And I recommend 2 people. That's about as good as you can get. If you go 4 people, then it's actually kind of difficult to split up the workload. And you can continue onwards and continue to do the dungeon, which if you have a 4-person group, it's actually a little bit better. But generally speaking, I prefer 2 people where you could split up right at that kind of perpendicular point and wrap yourselves around and finish the dungeon that way, which can be very good. So not bad, definitely pretty solid one, and you get some pretty good loot. Next one up is going to be Uldur's Cave over on the southwest side of the map, just north of the Geekol waypoint, or west of the Iron Wolves encampment down here. And you're going to find that this one is pretty solid. Definitely my favorite or second favorite next to the one after this. And you're just going to go through here, pretty complicated tunnels, and you can definitely split up quite nicely because there's oftentimes a little bit of side areas where you can clear up some mobs. So you're going to potentially miss an elite pack here and there if you don't have people splitting up, because you don't want to backtrack and you don't want to go to the next part, because this dungeon actually has a area where when you reach the next part, you get trapped in the room. You have to kill off all the monsters, and those monsters actually just don't give you XP. So you don't want to make that mistake of going into the room. So you just want to clear out that initial part, and it really helps if you have a couple other people being able to pick up all the different areas that you might have left behind. This one's going to range anywhere from 10 to 12 million as well, to I've seen as high as 22 million, which is really good in a consistent group, and I've really enjoyed that. But again, if you make that mistake of getting trapped in that room, your XP per hour goes down so quickly, okay? It is just so brutal, and you'll see here at the end of the clip where I accidentally walk into the room, and I'm like, oh no, you do not want to be in these rooms, you cannot leave them, and it's pretty unfortunate. So keep that in mind when you're running the Uldur's Cave. Last one on the list is going to be Champion's Demise, something that a lot of people still continue to run and is still very good. It's going to be on the central west side of the map. That's where it's located right there. And the reason why this one's good is because you have 3 separate dedicated lanes to run down. So if you're running this solo, honestly, the XP rates aren't like insanely good. It's about 8 million to potentially 12 million. It's a bigger range because depending on how quickly your character class can move around, it can be a lot slower. But there is actually quite a bit of downtime if you're soloing. This one, ideal for 3 players because each player can take a lane and you do not need to do the second part of it. And a key component of this is that when you get to this end part of each of your lane where there's like this room and you have the stone carving at the end, what you'll want to do is wrap around the other side because they kind of have like these little circular patterns where if you go one side, you can wrap around and kill monsters on your way back up, which is going to be really nice if you decide to run it solo or in a group. That way you can kind of make it just a little bit more efficient. But you can expect 22 million pretty commonly if you have a good 3-person group. That is still one of the best ways to get XP. This method has been nerfed quite significantly from what it was before because the elite density is so much lower now, but it used to be able to get like 30 million XP per hour, potentially even 35 million if you're very quick with some very quick classes. So you can see the XP numbers have just lowered quite significantly, but it's still arguably one of, if not the best group methods to do in the game because it's not as short as some other times, so you save time loading and resetting dungeons, and at the same time, the density is very, very high despite not having as many elites as it did before. So that's going to be the top 4 ones that I've seen so far in terms of getting XP. If you are decently strong, it might be better to run solo nightmare dungeons, but if you're into World Tier 4, even into World Tier 3, and you can't really do super difficult nightmare dungeons, then this is going to be a really, really nice way to get you some extra loot and some extra XP. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the nightmare dungeons coming up because we are going to get to instant TP and hopefully much more XP and loot, and at that point I'll give you guys a full breakdown of that and how it compares to some of these other XP methods. So thanks for watching and I'll see you all for the next one.